Hello and welcome to English Literature with Susan. Today I'm here with the second part of Wasteland, which is entitled A Game of Chess. Like the previous part, the first part, if you're interested, you can listen to my explanations in another video, uh, which is about part one. Like part one of the poem, part two is also has also taken its title from somewhere else. It's an allusion. A game of chess refers to two plays written by the 17th century dramatist Thomas Middleton, Women Beware Women, and A Game at Chess. The title suggests two plays by Middleton, A Game at Chess, and more significant, Women Beware Women, which has a scene in which mother-in-law is distracted by a game of chess while her daughter-in-law is seduced. Every move in the chess game represents a move in the seduction. So that's why the title is A Game of Chess. Here, T.S. Eliot is talking about the wasteland, and if you have listened to my first video on the poem, you would know that in a wasteland, the code is to be fertile, to have children. And we are in the wasteland because there is no fertility. So he thinks that there are reasons for this wasteland. There are reasons for this lack of fertility among human beings. And here he's counting one of those reasons, betrayal. So lack of fidelity among the couples is considered to be one reason that people cannot reproduce. Their love makings are meaningless because they are not in fruitful relationships, in healthy ones in which the couple, the husband and wife, are actually having established first a dialogue and then uh, a relationship, a form of which is healthy, but is loyal, and then they have children. Because this doesn't happen in the wasteland, we see what is ensued. So and this part is much easier than the previous part to be read because it has two anecdotes or two narratives, and both parts, both sections of actually this larger part are about betrayal. So in one of them we have a poor couple, in the other a well-to-do one, a rich one, and it doesn't matter. In both cases, we end up in infidelity. So that is the case, and because of these broken marriages or shattered marriages, the wasteland emerges. One thing which is significant in reading in this chapter to be considered is the change of voice in the poem. The first part, which is about the rich couple, is highly allusive, full of different references to here and there in literature, while the second part, and the language is eloquent, well, high end, we can say, but the second part, which is about the poor couple, the language is also poor, maybe we can say, or it's more ordinary. So we have this awkward, we can say, break of language happening in the poem as well. We begin in the bedroom of the woman who is actually part of the rich couple. So she's one party. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, is the opening line, and this opening line is also an allusion. Uh, when Shakespeare wants to talk about the first meeting of Antony and Cleopatra, we have this type of language. Eliot's language recalls a passage in Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra, which is referring to the first meeting of the two. The barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, burn on the water. Here, there is no barge, but we have here a woman um, sitting in front of her toilet table, and we'll see what's happening. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble. You see, everything is talking to us about they are being rich, or the kind of luxurious life they are leading, where the glass held up by standards. Held up by standards, it means that it's artistic. It follows the standards of an artistic kind of work. So it's a work of art. It's not just a mirror, a work of art. By standards wrote with fruited vines, from which a golden cupidon peeped out from the fruited vines. And within parentheses we read, another hid his eyes behind his wing. One is the sign of love. The other one who's hiding his eyes is actually the one who feels ashamed of what is happening in this room, betrayal. So one of them is portraying love and shooting love, darting love to the two lovers. The other one is hiding his eyes not to see what's up. And then we have other images from her room. The flames of seven branched can double the flames of seven branched candelabra. The mirror is doubling the flames of the candelabra. A candelabra is something like this, a menorah, reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of the jewels rose to meet it. So we have different types of reflections or different dynamisms of light here, and we are also getting introduced to the items over her table, all of them kind of signs of her being well-to-do and rich. When there are jewels, there is a candelabra, there is this kind of let's say artistic mirror from reflecting upon the table as the glitter of the jewels rose to meet it, from satin cases poured in rich profusion. Profusion means abundance. In vials, vials means containers. In vials of ivory and colored glass unstoppered. Here, the poet is talking about the perfumes of the woman, and there are different vials made out of ivory or glass, and the doors of those containers are open, so there is a profusion, an abundance of scents or perfumes in there. Lurked her strange synthetic perfumes. Again, synthetic perfumes means that she doesn't use perfumes which everyone can use and is available in the market. Her perfumes are specific to her. They are more for her, made for her. They are synthetic. Unguent means in form of an ointment, powdered or liquid, troubled, confused, and drowned the sense in odors stirred by the air that freshened from the window. These containers are open and the wind is coming, so the wind moves these scents, and that's why we feel confused by their variation and their commingling. Uh, and also the wind is doing something else here. It moves the flames of the candles by the air that freshened from the window. These ascended in fastening the prolonged candle flames. And these candle flames are moving, and their shadow over the roof is the next scene. The movement of these flames here um, is is making an effect that when we look at the ceiling, we can feel that, or we can have the illusion of the movement of those scenes. So, in fattening the prolonged candle flames, flung their smoke into the laqueria. Laqueria is a Latin word Shakespeare is using here. And this word was used by Virgil in his Aeneid, and here Eliot is referring to that work, and it means the covered ceiling, something like this. So these flames are moving, and then it seems as if the different shapes over the ceiling are moving too. Okay, stirring the pattern on the covered ceiling. In the next part, we have other descriptions of the items carved or painted over the walls of that house. Huge seaweed fed with copper, burned green and orange, framed by the colored stone in which satellite a carved dolphin swam. Maybe not important, but seems to be. First of all, fish are a symbol of fertility and sex, and second, dolphin was the first gift of love made by Poseidon. So dolphin was created for love, maybe a reference to kind of lovemaking or relationship anyway. Above the antique mantle, uh, a hearth was displayed as though a window gave upon the sylvan scene. There is something over the hearth in which we can see something similar to sylvan scene. The expression Sylvan sin was for the first time used by Milton in Paradise Lost, and it means Eden or Garden of Eden from Satan's eye. So it is as if Satan is looking at what is happening in that room, which is of course the betrayal and infidelity of the woman. And there is another item carved over the wall, the change of Philomel, by the barbarous king so rudely forced. Yet there the nightingale filled all the desert with the inviolable voice, and still she cried, and still the world pursued Jug Jug to dirty ears. We can read here, it's a reference to Ovid's Metamorphosis. Philomela was raped by the barbarous king Terio, husband of her sister Procne. Philomel was then transformed into a nightingale by the gods. So they say that the sad music of the nightingale is actually the sad story narrated by that girl who was raped. The point here is that King Teriel caught the tongue of the girl so that she cannot tell her sister what has happened to her. But the transformation helped her to narrate the story by jug jug the sound. Uh, there are two references in to this story. Actually, three, but the two of them are important, significant here. The first one happens in this part, which is about betrayal. The second one is in the next part, which is about lustfulness. So here, mostly the references to King Terios and not being loyal to his wife, anyway. And the onomatopoeia, jug jug, is the sound related to the sound of a nightingale as it is represented in the works of literature written in Elizabethan era. So here, Eliot is making an allusion. And there are other stories and other withered stumps of time were told upon the walls, but we can stop here about what items were represented or other stories because staring forms leaned out, leaning, hushing the room and closed. They are all hushed anyway, but there is something more important happening here. Footsteps shuffled on the stair like this. So the digression is over and we are back to the story. These are the footsteps of the woman's husband. She's not maybe waiting for him, but he's coming. Under the firelight, under the brush, she's surprised. Under the firelight, under the brush, her hair spread out in fire points, wrote into words. Good, the hair is talking to us. The hair is saying something. The surprise, the shock. Then would be savagely still. Then she controls the situation. And here, a conversation begins between the husband and wife. They start talking. And this is one of the most significant parts in the poem in which we can see a couple who cannot establish a dialogue. And in the wasteland of T.S. Eliot, establishing a dialogue is important because this is the first step towards having a fruitful sexual relationships. At first, you have to talk with one another, and you have to start a meaningful dialogue. Then you can have you can actually have the permission to enter into the next step. But we see that this couple cannot speak together in an appropriate manner, in a meaningful way. The woman is asking many questions, and the man's answers seem to be irrelevant. And if you can check, the woman's speech or parts are put within quotation marks, and some critics believe that this shows the limitations put upon women and their voice is limited. And she asks many questions, and her language is fragmented. So she cannot establish maybe a good relationship with language as well. My nerves are bad tonight. Yes, bad. Stay with me. Speak to me. Why do you never speak? Speak. So she's talking about it. What are you thinking of? What thinking? What? I never know what you're thinking. Think. And this is the man's answer. It's a quotation, actually. I think we are in Rat's Alley, and this image is repeating itself throughout West End, where the dead men lost their bones. What is that noise? The wind under the door. And here we have an allusion to the White Devil. And the White Devil, which is a Jacobean play, the main theme is betrayal. So Eliot is talking about it without referring directly to the idea of betrayal. The wind under the door. What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing. Again, nothing. And notice the repetition of the word nothing throughout the poem as well. Do you know nothing? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? And this is the man's answer. I remember those pearls that were his eyes. The man's answer is a quotation again from Shakespeare's The Tempest. The line has been already quoted in the section about Madame Sosostris in part one, and it's an allusion to Tempest and a representation of death by water. So what do you remember death by water? The woman is asking questions about life, about existence, but the man's answers don't seem to be relevant. Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head? When she's asking about something being in the man's head, she's asking about his thoughts, his ideas, but the man takes it at the literal level. And he talks about the song which is now playing in his mind. But oh, that Shakespearean rag. It's so elegant, so intelligent. Uh, and there is another important point here. We had Shakespeare, some lines above. These are pearls that were his eyes, quoted with reference, with respect. But all of a sudden, we turn here into Shakespearean rag, a song and a street kind of song. So this is how Eliot deals with the past. He respects the past and he breaks and disrespects the past. He tries to embody the past or re-embody the past in his work, but at the same time, he adapts them into contexts which are not related necessarily to that work or to that literary figure. So he's using and abusing the past in his work, the past literary tradition in general. And the conversation continues here. Here in this part, the woman is asking an existential question. What do we do in life? And the man's answer is something simple. We betray. But the point is that the woman is asking a very general, broad type of a question. And she talks about tomorrow, what we shall do, what shall we do tomorrow? But the man answers with considering the real tomorrow, the literal meaning of it. So the woman it doesn't mean necessarily tomorrow in the calendar. She means tomorrow in life. But the man answers in that way that he interprets it as to be tomorrow in the candle. What shall I do now? What shall I do? I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my hair down to act normally, naturally. So, what shall we do tomorrow? It reminds us of that tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow of Shakespeare's Macbeth, in which Macbeth talks about the shortness of life, out, brief candle. I mean the soliloquy after in Macbeth's soliloquy in Act 5, Scene 5, after he's heard about Lady Macbeth's death. And the man answers, the hot water at 10, and if it rains, a closed car at 4. They are rich, so he has a convertible, and we shall play a game of chess. You betray, pressing lidless eyes and waiting for a knock upon the door. The betray, and then we are always agitated, worried for what would happen, whether our partner would know about it or not. So this is how we end up the part about the rich couple. And from this dialogue, this unsuccessful dialogue, we move on to the next part. In this part, which is about the poor couple, the couple themselves, both the man and the woman, are absent, and we hear two women backbiting this other woman, Lil, in a bar. So they're talking about her and her relationship with her husband, and then we know something is up in their relationship. Then Lil's husband got demobbed. Demob is the everyday word for, or let's say the lower class word for discharge. So mind Eliot's language, all those allusions are now forgotten. None of them are present here. And not only there are no allusions, no eloquence of language, we see an ordinary colloquial representation of language. He said, I didn't mince my words. Mince again is such a word, cut up. I said to her myself, and then she is interrupted, and we hear another voice, hurry up, please, it's time. The traditional call of the British bartender as closing time. So this is no, they are at the end of the time of the day, and she's just narrating the whole story in a rapid way. And now Albert is coming back. Make yourself a bit smart. She is saying that I have told these to Lil. Lil's husband Albert is back from the war, the First World War, and now he needs a good time. So she's just giving some advice to her friend, and she's narrating that. Now Albert's coming back. Make yourself a bit smart means pretty. He'll want to know what you done with that money he gave you to get yourself some teeth. He did. I was there. You have them all out, Lil, and get a nice set. He said, I swear I can't bear to look at you. She had lost her teeth, and her husband had given her some money so that she can buy a new set. And no more can't I said. And think of poor Albert. He's been in the army 4 years. He wants a good time. And if you don't give it him, there's othersville, I said. So if you don't give him, there are others. And you see the grammar also. Uh, so your husband would become unloyal if you don't care about his needs as a man. Oh, is there? She said. Is it so? She said. Something like that. I said. Yes, something like that. Then I'll know who to thank, she said, and gave me a straight look. So she said that if my husband betrays, I know that you're the cause. You're the woman. Just this may be considered as a foreshadowing. Hurry up, please. It's time. If you don't like it, you can get on with it, I said. Okay, you don't like it, forget about it. But that's what happened. Others can pick and choose if you can't. But if Albert makes off, it won't be for lack of telling. I'm warning you here. So if your husband betrayed, somebody had told you already. I was there for you, but you didn't care. Okay? You ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so antique. Antique here means old. And her only 31. I can't help it, she said, pulling a long face. It's them pills I took to bring it off. It's a reference to an abortion, she said. She had used some pills to have an abortion, and then because maybe those pills or something, that those drugs were somehow hormonal or something, she had lost her teeth. And she explains she has had five already and nearly died of young George. She had five children already, so her sixth maybe was a problem, and she was forced into an abortion. The chemist, the druggist, the pharmacist said it would be all right, but I've never been the same. You're a proper fool, I said. Well, if Albert won't leave you alone, there it is, I said. Don't forget that I'm sure. But this type of attitude you have, your husband would leave you. What you get married for if you don't want children? And this is also important. This is one of the most important questions asked in the poem. That the in the world of the wasteland, the goal of a marriage is to have children. And if you don't want children, why you've married? So this is not only a question asked by that woman, but also by the speaker of the poem. Hurry up, please, it's time. Well, that Sunday, Albert was home. They had a hot gammon, and they asked me into dinner to get the beauty of it hot. So maybe Albert has invited her. Hurry up, please, it's time. Hurry up, please, it's time. So we know that the woman who is narrating here, and Albert, Lil's husband, are in a kind of relationship. And again, the betrayal had happened. And another point is that Lil cannot give life or give birth to another child. It's dangerous for her. And then we have these good nights. Good night. And you see, it's not even good night. It's good night. Good night, Bill. Good night, Lou. Good night, May. Good night, Tita. Good night. Good night. And all of a sudden, we move from those good night, minced words, cut off words, into good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Good night. We are back to the hesitations in the previous part about the rich couple. And these are also an allusion actually uh, to Ophelia's good night speech or departing words. When the mad Ophelia is departing, she said, "Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Good night." Ophelia too met death by water. We have to know. So one of the themes of the poem is it is repeating itself, but with a hidden note. And here Eliot shifts from the colloquial language of the previous lines to Shakespeare's eloquent language. Another abrupt, awkward shift of language has happened at this part of the poem. And that's my explanation of the second part of the wasteland. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope I can see you in my next videos.